Hello, how you guys doing? James here, back with another video. Uh, I'm gonna show a little bit of this video about, and this is a positive video for Black people. Um, and I'm get on, at the end of this video. I'm gonna show you some positive things about what some Black men currently, how they get some good advice. I'm gonna play 5 or 10 minutes of the video. You probably seen them on YouTube. They got very big channels, but let's start with this.
Picture this. Durham, North Carolina, 1907. The most exclusive banking establishment in the South. Marble columns reach toward ornate ceilings as the city's most powerful white bankers gather for their weekly meeting. Crystal chandeliers cast golden light over mahogany tables where millions of dollars in deals are decided every single day. Suddenly, the room erupts in the kind of laughter reserved for the most absurd jokes. "Gentlemen, you won't believe what I heard today," announces the bank president, barely able to contain his amusement. "Some colored folks down on Parish Street actually think they can open a real bank, with real money, real customers, real everything. If you think you've seen impossible business stories, wait until you hear what this man accomplished against all odds." If you enjoy this kind of story buried by official history, subscribe to the channel now and leave a comment saying, "Remember John Merrick so that name is never forgotten." The laughter grows louder throughout the banking hall. These men control every financial institution for hundreds of miles. They decide which businesses live or die, which families get mortgages, which entrepreneurs receive the capital to build their dreams. To them, the idea of Black people operating something as sophisticated as a bank is beyond ridiculous. It's completely impossible. What's next? Another banker jokes, wiping tears from his eyes. Are they going to build their own Wall Street too? The room explodes in mockery. In their world, Black Americans exist to serve, not to lead. They clean the banks, they don't own them. But what these incredibly powerful men didn't know would haunt their legacies for generations to come. Standing just outside their building, having overheard every single insulting word through the open windows, was a man whose very existence would prove them catastrophically wrong. John Merrick stood there in silence, his weathered hands holding a business plan that seemed impossible even to him. Born into slavery, he had spent decades watching, learning, and carefully planning for this exact moment. In those papers was a blueprint for something that had never been attempted in the Jim Crow South. Open the first Black-owned bank in North Carolina. Provide loans and financial services to Black families systematically shut out by white institutions. Build an economic foundation strong enough to withstand the crushing weight of legal segregation and social persecution. Here's what makes John Merrick's story absolutely mind-blowing. He wasn't just fighting poverty, limited education, or lack of resources. He was declaring economic war against an entire system specifically designed to keep Black Americans financially powerless forever. Every banking regulation, every business law, every lending practice, every social custom, every unwritten rule of Southern commerce was deliberately engineered to make his dream not just difficult or unlikely, but completely and legally impossible. The deck wasn't just stacked against him. The entire game was rigged from the start. John Merrick's story begins in the most unlikely place imaginable for a future banking mogul, a slave cabin in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, 1859. Born into bondage, young John spent his earliest years understanding that his life, his labor, and even his dreams belonged to someone else. The idea that he could one day control millions of dollars would have seemed like pure fantasy. But fate intervened in the most unexpected way. When the Civil War erupted and his master fled to avoid the advancing Union troops, 12-year-old John found himself suddenly free but completely alone. No family, no money, no education, no connections. Just a Black child wandering through a war-torn South where freedom could be more dangerous than slavery. What happened next would shape the man who would revolutionize Black banking in America. Young John made his way to Durham, a growing tobacco town where he found work in the most unlikely profession for a future financial titan. He became a barber. But this wasn't just any barbershop. John's small establishment on Parish Street became the unofficial headquarters for Durham's white elite. Wealthy tobacco barons, successful merchants, and powerful politicians would sit in his chair for hours, completely relaxed, discussing their most confidential business deals right in front of him. Here's the genius part. These men saw John as invisible. In their minds, he was just the help, someone who cut hair and cleaned up, not someone capable of understanding complex financial strategies. They spoke freely about bank loans, investment opportunities, real estate deals, and business partnerships as if John wasn't even in the room. But John was listening to everything. Every conversation became a masterclass in business strategy. Every casual remark about profit margins, every discussion about market timing, every mention of successful investment techniques, John absorbed it all like a human sponge. For over 20 years, he quietly studied the financial habits of the South's most successful businessmen. He learned how they evaluated opportunities, how they managed risk, how they built their empires. Most importantly, he discovered something that would change his life forever. These wealthy white men weren't necessarily smarter or more talented than anyone else. They simply had access to capital, connections, and opportunities that were systematically denied to black Americans. The game wasn't about intelligence, it was about access. That's when John Merrick began developing what would become the most audacious business plan in Southern history. If the existing financial system would never serve black families, then he would create an entirely new system that would. But turning this revelation into reality would require something even more impossible than starting a bank. He would need to find partners brave enough to risk everything alongside him. In 1898, John Merrick's barbershop received an unusual visitor who would change everything. Dr. Aaron McDuffie. Moore walked through the door, but he wasn't there for a haircut. Moore was one of the first black physicians in North Carolina, a man who had witnessed firsthand how the lack of black-owned businesses was crushing his community's economic potential. Moore had a problem that kept him awake at night. His patients, hard-working black families, were being systematically denied basic financial services by white-owned institutions. They couldn't get life insurance, couldn't secure business loans, couldn't even open savings accounts in most banks. When breadwinners died, their families were left with nothing but debt and desperation. But Moore had heard whispers about the barber on Parish Street, who seemed to understand business better than most college graduates. The two men talked for hours that first day, and what emerged was a partnership that seemed impossible even to them. Moore brought medical expertise and credibility in the black community. Merrick brought 20 years of accumulated business intelligence and an unshakable belief that black people could build their own economic institutions. But they needed a third partner, someone with the organizational skills to turn their vision into reality. Enter Charles Clinton Spaulding, a young man whose energy and ambition matched their own. Spaulding had worked as a dishwasher, a grocery clerk, and a manager, but what set him apart was his ability to see opportunity where others saw only obstacles. When Merrick and Moore approached him with their plan, Spaulding didn't just say yes. He said, "Let's make this bigger than anyone imagines." Their first venture wasn't a bank at all. It was the North Carolina Mutual Life Insurance Company, founded with just $50 in startup capital. $50. Most of their white competitors had hundreds of thousands to work with, but these three men believed that serving their community's desperate need would be more powerful than starting with massive resources. The insurance company was strategic genius disguised as necessity. Black families desperately needed life insurance, but white companies either refused to serve them or charged impossibly high premiums. Merrick, Moore, and Spaulding could offer fair rates while building the customer relationships and capital reserves they would eventually need for their ultimate goal. But running an insurance company in Jim Crow America meant confronting obstacles that would have destroyed lesser men. White competitors tried to have their licenses revoked. Local newspapers mocked their efforts. Some white customers of Merrick's barbershop stopped coming, costing him significant income. Yet somehow, North Carolina Mutual not only survived its first year, it thrived. Black families across the state began purchasing policies, finally having access to financial protection they had been denied for generations. Word spread through churches, schools, and communities that these three men were actually delivering on their promises. Within 5 years, North Carolina Mutual had become the largest black-owned insurance company in the world. But for Merrick, this success was never the end goal. It was just the foundation for something far more revolutionary. The profits from insurance were secretly being reinvested into an even more audacious dream that would shake the foundations of Southern banking forever. By 1905, the three partners had built something unprecedented in the Jim Crow South, a thriving, black-owned business empire that was making white competitors extremely nervous. North Carolina Mutual wasn't just selling insurance anymore. It had become the economic heartbeat of Black Durham, employing dozens of families and generating wealth that stayed within the black community. But Merrick, Moore, and Spaulding had a secret strategy that was even more revolutionary than their business success. They were quietly using their insurance company's profits to buy real estate throughout Durham's black neighborhoods. Every month, more properties came under their control: barbershops, restaurants, grocery stores, even small manufacturing businesses. This wasn't random investment. It was economic warfare disguised as business expansion. The trio understood that true economic freedom meant controlling not just individual businesses, but entire economic ecosystems. They were building what would later be called Black Wall Street, right under the noses of white authorities who were too blinded by racism to recognize the threat. Here's what made their strategy absolutely brilliant. While white business owners saw black customers as inferior markets not worth serious investment, Merrick and his partners recognized that black families represented millions of dollars in untapped economic potential. They were creating a parallel economy where black dollars stayed in black hands. Every successful venture generated capital for the next investment. The insurance company funded real estate purchases. Real estate profits financed new businesses. New businesses created jobs for black workers who then bought insurance and shopped at black-owned stores. It was a self-sustaining cycle of wealth creation that grew stronger every year. But their success was attracting dangerous attention. Local white politicians began questioning how those colored folks were accumulating so much property. Rumors spread that they were somehow cheating the system or receiving secret funding from northern agitators. The Ku Klux Klan started watching their operations closely. The partners knew they were walking a tightrope. Too much success too quickly could trigger violent backlash that would destroy everything they had built. Too little progress would mean their community remained economically powerless. They needed to find a way to accelerate their impact without painting a target on their backs. That's when Spaulding proposed the most audacious expansion yet. Instead of just competing with white businesses, they would create the one institution that could transform black economic life forever. Not just a business, but the foundation of all business, their own bank. White banks routinely denied loans to black entrepreneurs, refused mortgages to black families, and charged discriminatory fees for basic services. But a black-owned bank could change everything, providing capital for black businesses, mortgage for black homeowners, and savings opportunities for black workers. The plan was legally risky, financially dangerous, and socially explosive. Opening a bank required substantial capital reserves, state licensing, and regulatory approval from white-controlled government agencies that had every incentive to deny their application. But by 1907, after 9 years of careful preparation, strategic wealth accumulation, and community building, the three partners were finally ready to attempt the impossible. They were about to challenge the most protected sector of white economic dominance, and the response would test everything they had built. August 20th, 1907. The date that would make history in ways no one could have predicted. John Merrick, Dr. Moore, and Charles Spaulding stood outside a modest two-story building on Parish Street, holding the keys to what was about to become the most revolutionary institution in North Carolina, the Mechanics and Farmers Bank. But getting to this moment had required navigating a legal maze designed specifically to prevent exactly what they were attempting. North Carolina banking laws required massive capital reserves that seemed impossible for black entrepreneurs to accumulate. The application process involved multiple white-controlled regulatory boards that had never approved a black-owned bank application in state history. Here's how they pulled off the impossible. Instead of applying as 3 individual black men, they incorporated as North Carolina Mutual and Provident Association, leveraging the established credibility of their insurance empire. They presented 9 years of meticulous financial records, proving their ability to manage large sums of money responsibly. Most importantly, they had quietly secured endorsements from several white business leaders who had profited from partnerships with their insurance company. The regulatory hearing was a masterclass in strategic presentation. While racist board members expected to see 3 uppity Negroes making unrealistic demands, they instead encountered polished businessmen with detailed financial projections, conservative growth plans, and backing from respected white community leaders. The application was approved more out of surprise than support. Opening day arrived with a mixture of celebration and terror throughout Durham's black community. Hundreds of black families lined up outside the bank, many carrying their life savings in cash because they had never trusted white-owned institutions enough to open accounts. For many older residents who remembered slavery, the sight of black people actually owning a bank seemed like a miracle. But the white banking establishment was watching with growing alarm. The Mechanics and Farmers Bank wasn't just another small business, it was a direct challenge to one of the most protected pillars of white economic dominance. Within hours of opening, white competitors were already plotting to destroy what these 3 men had built. The bank's first loans were revolutionary acts of economic justice. Black entrepreneurs who had been denied capital for decades suddenly had access to business loans. Black families could finally secure mortgages to buy homes in their own neighborhoods. Black farmers could get crop loans without the exploitative terms imposed by white lenders. Every successful loan was a crack in the foundation of economic segregation. Every new account holder represented another family gaining access to financial services that had been systematically denied. Within 6 months, Mechanics and Farmers Bank had processed more loans to black customers than all white banks in Durham combined had approved in the previous decade. But
Wow. Yeah, that's a really interesting story. I don't know if I can share that or not. But I want to get let's see what these guys say. Richard.
Known for creating memories. No one wants to be known for cancer.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. If you're stopping by the channel for the first time, please consider subscribing to my channel. And while you're ready, smash that like button for me. I really would appreciate it. Also, hit that post notification bell so that you're notified every time I upload a new video. Well, guys, today we're going to talk about 4 things that you're spending your money on that will keep you from financial freedom. In America, we have a problem with spending. There's 150 million Americans who have no retirement savings. So we do have a problem with spending. But I'm going to share these 4 things with you that I believe can help you reel in your spending and provide you more money that you can then put in something to multiply it, right? The key to building wealth and getting to financial freedom is all about money. It's all about what you do with your money. So let's go through these 4 things that I think are preventing you from getting to financial freedom. Number 1 is gonna be social media spending. Did you know the average American spends about $754 annually on social media impulse spending? See, we spend a lot of time on these phones, strolling through, looking at our favorite, Hollywood star, looking at our favorite entertainer, looking at whatever we look at. And then guess what happens? On these social media platforms, there are ads thrown at you every second that you're on there. And what do? we impulse spend to the tune of $754 annually. That's a lot, guys. So how do you correct this? Spend less time on social media. That's how you correct it. I was looking at a survey. It said that out of an 8-hour workday, the average person spends at least 6 of those hours scrolling through the phone occasionally and doing what? Impulse spending. So if you want to be able to have more money left over at the end of the month, you gotta stop the impulse spending on social media. Let's move on to number 2, which is streaming service spending. The average American spends $924 a year on streaming services. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Netflix, right? Amazon Prime, and there are many more. We spend too much money, guys, on streaming services. That's almost $1,000 per year that you could be taking, and instead of building Netflix's wealth, building Amazon Prime's wealth, and all the rest of these streaming services' wealth, you could be building your wealth. It's a lot of money, guys. And why are we doing that? Because we're looking for entertainment, right? We're looking for a break from reality. The problem is you are making someone else wealthy while you are deteriorating your wealth, because you're taking the money that you're earning and giving it to them, to the streaming services. Gotta stop that, guys. If we want to build wealth, we gotta cut back. We can't have 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 streaming services that we're paying for every single month if we expect to build wealth. So you gotta stop these streaming services. Cut them out. Cut them out of your budget. Start investing it in something that builds wealth for you and will eventually help you get to financial freedom. Number 3, personal grooming spending. Here's a big one too. The average American spends $897 a year on personal grooming. Women spend over $1,000 per year. Men around $800 per year on personal grooming services. Beauty salon, barbershop, getting my nails done, facial.
Good morning, everybody. We are here to discuss the Kroger Deliveries refrigerated trucks bring fresh groceries right to your door. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
People will congratulate you in public, but compete with you in private. Success, oftentimes, it triggers other people's insecurities. See, money doesn't just attract opportunity, but money attracts opportunists. When you talk, you're repeating what you already know. When you listen, you're learning what you don't know. Guys, when you get rich, do yourself a favor and don't tell no one. Just keep your mouth shut, right? Some people just absolutely talk too much, and they can't wait to tell the world what they bought, what they're doing, or what they're planning to do, or how good they're doing right now. And that's exactly why a lot of people who build wealth or who get rich, they don't have the peace that they thought they'd have when they finally get some money. The deal is this: the moment people start winning, other people are going to start watching. That's just automatic. And a lot of people likely won't tell you that they're watching, but you know that they're watching. And not everybody watching is on your side necessarily. So some people have a tendency out here to want to flaunt it and say, hey, look at me. Remember when you said I wasn't going to be nothing? Now look at me, I'm rich. But I'm telling you on this video, don't do that, right? The truth is that some people are admiring you from afar, but a lot of people are watching you and either hoping for your downfall, or they're plotting, or they're comparing themselves to you, or they're waiting to see what your next move is and if you're really going to succeed at this thing or not. You'd be surprised at how dirty some people are thinking about you, and many of them, they don't even know you. See, we live in a world, guys, that rewards being loud over oversharing, over-posting on social media, over-explaining yourself. But if you really want to grow money and keep your money and keep your peace at the same time and stay on your purpose, you've got to master the art of moving in silence. Now, this isn't about being scared or secretive. I'm not telling you to be fearful or scared or nervous. I'm just telling you that when you build wealth and ultimately become rich, it's about being strategic. It's about understanding that sometimes the less you say, the further you're going to go. The quieter you are, the more you can accomplish whatever you're trying to do. You don't need validation. You just need to stick to your vision. You don't need extra attention and all the eyes on you, right? What you need is just alignment with your purpose. And that don't call for really much noise at all. Matter of fact, it calls for silence. Now, let me real quickly give you 7 reasons why you should keep your mouth completely shut when you get rich. And stay tuned for number 5, because number 5 is my favorite. The first reason is the fact that silence is a superpower. When you start elevating, right, you'll realize something really powerful. The loudest people rarely have the most. The quiet ones, they're the ones who's focused. The quiet ones, they're the ones who's really locked in. They're working, right? They're grinding in the background. They're the ones who really have the most, the quiet ones. You ever notice how real power doesn't really have to announce itself? Somebody that carries an aura around them or is powerful, they don't have to come in and say, look at me, I'm powerful, right? Like when you see Warren Buffett, he's not flashing everything, right? When you see real wealth, generational wealth, it typically moves quietly in silence, because powerful people, they don't have to talk about their moves. They just make the moves. Loud people are the ones who's chasing attention. Quiet people build foundations, right? Talking too much is how you give away your sauce. Talking too much is how you give away your blueprint. And every time you post or brag or overshare on social media, you're just giving somebody the exact playbook to study you, to study your habits, to study your weaknesses. There's something really, really cool, in my opinion, about silence. It gives you a level of control. It gives you some leverage, and it keeps your next moves, whatever they may be, sort of protected. So in my opinion, you gotta talk less and move more and let your results do all the talking and make all the noise. Now, the second reason you want to shut up when you get rich is that every word you say can and will be used against you. Every word you say is a weapon that people can and will throw back at you. When you talk too much, you're giving people data. And trust me, some people out here, they will use that data that comes out of your mouth against you. You tell somebody about your new business idea. Next month, that person is over there starting the same business cheaper and louder, right? You tell a cousin or somebody at the barbecue or at the fish fry about your raise that you got, suddenly they're calling you with a quick favor, right? Hey, can you hook me up with something, right? Or a temporary loan. You tell social media, you just bought a new car. Now guess what? The scammers, they know where to look and who to look for and what to look for, because they saw your new car on social media. Loose lips don't just sink ships, right? Loose lips expose your GPS location. Flat out, right? I'm just keeping it real. So you need to protect your business, protect your dreams, protect your future, because what people don't know, they can't ruin. What people don't know, they can't talk bad about or talk down about. Now, the third reason to shut up is that not everybody is happy for you. Now, this one's going to hurt some people out here, but it's the truth. When you start winning, the energy around you changes. Some people that used to root for you when you was on your way up the mountain, they may start to resent you. Jealousy is a real thing. And jealousy usually wears a disguise, okay? Jealousy usually looks like support. Jealousy usually looks like a pat on the back. But a lot of times, things ain't what they seem. People will congratulate you in public, but compete with you in private. They'll like your post, right? But secretly hope you fail. And oftentimes, here's the deal. The more you feed people with updates about how you're doing and your money and all that, the more you feed them reasons to be envious. And I'm not saying other people's envy is really your problem, but it could become an issue that you have to deal with down the road, right? You've got to understand this one thing. Success, oftentimes, it triggers other people's insecurities, especially in a world like we live in now where a lot of people are hurting. So my suggestion is to protect your energy, protect your blessings, right? You don't owe the world proof that you're winning or that you're rich or that you have a lot of money. Celebrate privately and stay grateful publicly. Now, the fourth reason to keep it quiet when you build wealth or when you get rich is simply this. The world is full of scammers, guys, full of robbers, full of people who are super duper desperate to get what you got and not give you anything in return. When people know what you have, they start plotting. Not everybody, but a lot of people out here, you'd be surprised. Sometimes they're plotting something physical. You never know. But sometimes it could be just emotional. Sometimes it could be something financial. Scammers are watching you online. Trust me, they are waiting for clues. And then you have fake friends that are out there watching you as well, trying to attach themselves to your come up, right? What you're doing well. And then you have those desperate people who feel like they got nothing to lose, right? So they're always searching for a crack in the armor to see when they can kind of dig in and take something of yours, and maybe an opportunity just to get close to you. Get close to the stuff that you spent your hard-earned time, energy, and money building, right? So again, protect yourself, not just with the Second Amendment, right? If you know, you know, but also protect yourself with just discretion, because once you show your hand, what you got, you can't unshow it. People have literally, this is literally, been robbed, kidnapped, or betrayed simply because they couldn't stop talking about what they had. See, money doesn't just attract opportunity, but money attracts opportunists. So you got to learn to move wisely, move quietly, and remember, peace of mind is worth more than the publicity of everyone knowing your business. Guys, if you're serious about getting your money right, go grab my new book, Manage Your Way to Millions. It's not about getting rich overnight. It's about building wealth with purpose, all right? You can find it over on Amazon or just hit the link in the description box below. It'll walk you through the same mindset and systems that helped me turn my financial life around. Manage your way to millions. Don't just talk about freedom, learn how to build it. Now, let's get back to the video. Now, I told you to stay tuned for number 5. This is my favorite one. The 5th reason to shut up is simply this. You learn more when you talk less. Now, this might be one of the most underrated lessons in life, but hear me closely on this one. When you talk, you're repeating what you already know. When you listen, you're learning what you don't know. So silence is really the great teacher. Silence gives you perspective. It helps you read the room. It helps you, silence can help you spot people's motives, right? Silence can help you understand the energy taking place in a group, small group, big group, whatever it could be. The older I get, the more I realize that wisdom is built in the pauses, not really in the middle of the performances, right? You don't need to prove that you're smart. You don't need to prove that you're successful or that you're in the know or prove that you have a lot of money. You just need to keep your ears open and your mouth shut long enough to catch the truth between the pauses, between people's words. So when you're quiet and you're listening and you're not talking, you're actually building wisdom. Now, reason number 6 is this. Be the part. Don't just look the part. We live in a culture that's totally obsessed with appearances. Everybody wants to look a certain way or look rich, but very few people want to do the hard work and take out the long hours and all of the planning and strategy that it takes, or go through all the failures that it takes to actually be rich. Because being rich takes discipline, humility, time, patience. The only thing looking rich takes is a credit card, perhaps, a little bit of ego, a little bit of creativity, and a social media page, and you can look as rich as you want to look. But here's the deal. You can't fake real financial discipline with a picture of you on IG sitting on the beach. It doesn't work like that. You can't really flex your way into real financial freedom. So you don't want to be the person who's out here trying to prove that you're successful. It's not necessary. Real wealth is not loud. It's quiet. It's intentional. It's a family that's well taken care of. That's real wealth. Real wealth is peace in your home. That's real wealth. Or peace in your mind. It's no bad debt on stuff that's losing value, right? That's real wealth. It's no drama, no stress. In my opinion, it's better to have real financial freedom than to have fake followers. Now let's go to the seventh reason that you want to keep your mouth shut when you get rich. It's just simply humility. Humility is what's going to keep you grounded when you start to build wealth or you get rich. When you stay humble, you stay human. When you get money, just simply stay grateful, right? Stay approachable. Don't look down on other people just because you leveled up somehow. You never know who you'll need on the way down if you ever go down, right? Humility doesn't mean, now let me just clarify this. Humility doesn't mean you got to hide your blessings. I'm not saying that. Humility just simply means you quietly honor your blessings, right? Humility means understand that every win that you make, that you have, is not for display for the world to see. You don't have to go to LinkedIn and take a picture standing next to your award every time you win something. Now, if you do, that's cool. I'm not mad at you, right? But I'm saying to build this wealth in silence, remember that some wins are just for your development. Some of the wins that you have are just to test. Watch this. Some of the wins you have in life and with money is simply to test you to see if you'll remain thankful. So your job when you build wealth and you get rich is to stay teachable. Because the moment you think you're too big to listen, life has a way of reminding you how small you really are. That's the reason when you get rich, you don't really have to tell no one. You just be quiet. Look, this is why in my book, Manage Your Way to Millions, I talk about building real wealth quietly, intentionally, and without trying to prove anything to anybody. It's not just about making money, it's about learning how to manage the money, learning how to multiply the money, and move in silence. Go to manageyourwaytomillions.com and grab your copy today.
You know, shout out to his channel. That was some of the best advice that I've heard from these guys. That was the best advice, because we have, you know, people, particularly some of our people, have a tend to be got to be loud and adventurous, you know, and got to be showing off. And you see these young people, you know, look at some of these rappers. I'm just going, these young people, these Gen Z rappers. They flashing money, they flashing stuff online, and next thing you know, their house is getting shot up. I mean, next thing you know, someone, you know, home invasions. I mean, just showing your wealth, just, you know, you're on IG, and then it's like they, like he said, there's opportunities out there that people, they don't want to see you come up, and it could be somebody you think is cool with you, that's in your crew with you, they'll set you up, and you just because they're a hater, you know. It's just that it makes a whole lot of sense, man. But hopefully, you know, this was given a background on Black Americans who really, this is who you are. This is who you are. And it's in you. None of these groups can do what you can do. None of these immigrants, the big individuals, have stood up against the system, know how to navigate around the system and maintain the system like Black people have, and have a historical way. And I think it can be done again. I think that there are Black Americans who have the ability to, if they could just put down their differences, if it comes from every background, and try not to be too tribal, because these other people that look like us already acting tribal towards us, you know. So it don't matter if you just put two together and understand what this thing is really about. It's about survival. In fact, you have the highest unemployment rate. One of the groups that have the high is Black people. You know, Black women have the highest unemployment rate. That's what they record, about 300,000. That's probably including Black men. I mean, there's other people out there on unemployment, but you know, when they do the ratio thing about what demographic of people, even though we see other demographic of people are being laid off and losing their jobs, whether it's from the private sector to the government sector. You know, a lot of the government sector is where a good percentage of the people from are Black people, like in other people. So that's one things you considering about. But that was just amazing, and I want to show a little bit of that clip about them three men, and maybe there's future young black men are out there doing it, and they doing it quietly, or young black women doing it. And I think they understand the blueprint. They play by the rules, and that was very very wise of what they done. But it's just something that no matter how much stuff you see on with the back and forth and everybody attacking us as a people, look at, and I make these videos because just look at this who you are. They don't take the time out to see the positive of African Americans. Some of these individuals don't. But they so downgraded. Look, there's some individuals that do wrong, but just like any other ethnic group, everybody got a few knuckleheads. I always say that. But they don't go in on their own like and others go in on their own. So this is the reason why I made this video, was just to open up the insight. And shout out to Richard Farn, and I forgot who his name is. Shout out to his channel, and the guy whoever made that documentary about the black bank, and African Americans that can get that reparation, it's a wrap, And I heard something earlier about another group trying to throw their opinion into it. That's the Native Africans from over on certain ones on the continent. I think personally they should stay out of it, because you're gonna build up. You already building up resentment that making a lot of black Americans resent you. I mean, in these last couple of weeks on social media, we seen some. I found those three women was from Cameroon. They weren't from not from Nigeria. Then you got the Somalians doing their thing. But then again, there's some Nigerians doing things. And these other groups of people, when they get a little money or whatever, they're showing out their butt. And then they trying to knock black Americans off. So now they restarted this diaspora war. Now when under this government, someone is trying to see we would come out there and do whatever we do, give the same energy that we give in the past. But now you burnt the bridges. That some of immigrant groups, the Latinos, they burnt the bridge. South Asians and Asians have burnt the bridge. Arab Americans burnt the bridge with black people. Now you have put other people, and it's, like I said, it's not just 1, 2, 3 groups that came up against black American. It's been like 4, and then you got you got overall these people that are white have whiteism. I'm not gonna call them white supremacists, because there's nothing supreme about them, and who have this animosity and jealousy and always got to put black people in their mouth. So they don't take the time out to look at their ability. They want to look at the bad in the community, but they don't want to look at what's within any community, what is good. Every community got good people and visionaries and dreamers. It's just about what these other groups of people are. Can they be productive? Can they assimilate to be productive and produce something? That's what America's really about. But when you have a group of people that's trying to scam, trying to infiltrate, backstab, and be mischievous, which you expect people are not going to favor you too well. But this video is not to divide, but to really let other people know that when it comes to black Americans, this is part of the history. And if any black American will come across this video, is that's what you can do, because you wasn't the first, and that was over 200 years, 100 something close to 800 years ago. I think about 80, 90 years ago, when them guys formed that bank. If black people can do that now, let's see how them other people think. and there's black people in the community that got them brains. It's just to find out which one's going to be loyal to the community. Because right now, the boule ain't doing it. Right now, the ones doing the political parties, they ain't doing it. And it's sadly enough, not even the black pastors are doing it. So now it have to be someone grassroots. So it's got to take grassroots people, regardless of what they've learned out there, and to come together. So hopefully they can get it done, and let's make it happen. All right then, guys. Hope you like this video. Like and subscribe, and see you on the next video. Take care.